One question I will often ask people is, what is the importance of speed when it comes to getting your second citizenship? I think a lot of people don't understand just how long it can take to become a dual citizen, and so today I'm going to walk you through the process of what you should expect in terms of speed, as well as share with you 4 different ways to get a second citizenship rather quickly. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson here at Nomad Capitalist. Myself, our network, our team help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs legally go where they're treated best. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. And today I'm going to talk about ways to get a second citizenship without having to wait around for a long time. But just what is a long time? What is a short time? And sometimes people will say, I'm willing to wait a year. I'm willing to wait 9 months. Even if they don't plan on living overseas, people often tell me, I want to have the ability to be a dual citizen. That means I want to expatriate, I want to live in another country, I want to travel as a citizen of that country. A lot of times people don't want to wait around for years, but 9 months, 12 months, even 2 years, 3 years, that's relatively short in the area of citizenship. And so, the first area that is unlikely to apply to most people would be an exceptional citizenship that is granted with you in mind. That's maybe the fastest way to get citizenship. And so if you look at a story from a couple years ago, there was a Malian refugee living in Paris who did the old, save the child from the burning building kind of thing. I think the child was hanging from a balcony, climbed up, they called him Spider-Man, he saved the child, and Emmanuel Macron came out and said, we're going to give this guy citizenship. Now, he first had to be a resident and then became a citizen. But basically, in that case, in certain countries, the president can decree anyone to be a citizen. Not every country has that provision. But I've talked about Eric Schmidt, for example, who was the CEO of Google previously. When word got out that he went through Cyprus's citizenship by investment program, I said, maybe he already did, but my advice would have been to go to some other country that has such a provision and negotiate. Now that probably wouldn't take as little time as simply having a heroic act and having the president come out and do the press conference and giving you citizenship immediately. But that is whether you're getting it through a heroic act, whether you're an Olympic athlete that a country wants on their team, whether you're going and negotiating a great business deal and in exchange for bringing jobs and bringing capital, getting citizenship. That's a relatively fast way to do it. For most people, even people I've worked with who have 8, 9, 10-figure net worths who are looking for a second passport, what they'll often say is, why bother with the hassle? And so they disregard my advice to Eric Schmidt, which is fine. And basically they'll go for one of the commoditized citizenship by investment programs, whether it's one of the 5 in the Caribbean, generally not doing anything in Vanuatu, but they certainly have a program that's pretty quick. You have a couple programs now in Europe that some have come, some have gone, but you do have a couple programs left there. And so they will choose from one of these. Even people who have tremendous amounts of wealth don't always choose the most expensive citizenship by investment program, partially because it just doesn't add a lot to their situation. Having a Maltese passport with a few extra countries visa-free, if you have $300 million, doesn't really necessarily change your life, especially if you're planning on keeping a citizenship you already have. And so we'll see these people go to the Caribbean, for example, and just everyday entrepreneurs and investors as well, and get a passport. Once you submit your documents, 3-4 months plus a month of processing paperwork, that kind of thing. So within 6 months, you've got your passport. The biggest issue that we've talked about before with that is how quickly do you do the paperwork. And so we've interviewed people on this channel where they've said it took me a year just to do the paperwork. And that means you're working with one of these agents who's on the island, who's really slow. They're giving you most of the work. And so, whereas sometimes we'll file applications in, 3 or 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it may be, some people I hear are waiting 6 or 12 months. That's the biggest variable, actually, in terms of how quickly you get your citizenship, because the approval time of the government does change a little bit. It's hard to entirely predict where that's going, but that might be 3-4 months, something like that. St. Kitts and Nevis has a 60-day rush option and an extra fee. Very few people choose to do that because you don't wait that much longer anyway. But commoditized citizenship by investment programs are pretty hard to beat, particularly in the Caribbean when it comes to timeline. And so that is, for a lot of people, the best bet to get citizenship quickly. One other way that in most cases won't be quick, or at least that quick, but that is quick in the case of some countries, is citizenship by descent. And so we've had people who have come where they have a parent from Canada or from the UK. We've had a number of those cases in the UK. We've done some cases in Ireland. We had a case recently in the Baltics. Some countries that are pretty well digitalized can process these applications quickly, again, if you have all the right documents. If it's your parent, you have their birth certificate and your birth certificate. If it's a grandparent, you have all the documents. And so some countries, generally the English-speaking ones, those can be relatively quick. We help someone with New Zealand. The countries that you might expect to be a bit more efficient, as well as, again, some of like the Baltics where they've taken things online, they can be quick in terms of months to actually issue your second passport. When you look at other programs like Italy, Hungary, Poland, and many others, that can often be very slow. You might be waiting years, even after you've proven and you're just waiting for your appointment. And so in some cases, that can be quick. Again, I mean, if you get a top tier, what we call Tier A second passport in 2 years or 3 years, that's still a pretty good deal compared to where you could become naturalized after 2 or 3 years, especially without living there. But that's not particularly fast when you're comparing it to some of the investment options. Now, the last route for some people is marriage. And we've seen a number of countries over the last couple of years that have gotten rid of instant citizenship for people who marry their citizens. Armenia at one time had it, for example. Now you've got to wait a couple of years. Cape Verde, last we have checked, still offers instant citizenship when you marry one of its citizens. Obviously a small country, probably not a huge dating pool. If you happen to meet a Cape Verdean somewhere, then you can avail yourself of that Tier C citizenship relatively quickly. In other cases, we've actually talked to people, France, which we mentioned at the beginning, being one example where you don't necessarily have to change your entire lifestyle once you're married to a citizen of a few countries to be able to naturalize in the future. And so may not be quick. It's a free citizenship in some cases where just being married alone without actually having to live there, which is often the case, you might be able to qualify in 3 years, 4 years, something like that. So it's not particularly quick in citizenship speak. It's not slow, but since you're not spending a lot of time in the country, it may go by quickly. So those are 4 options you can use for yourself. Now, if you're giving birth to a child, we've talked about citizenship by birth, merely being born in the soil. Portugal being the first country in Europe to allow residents of the country whose children are born there after 1 year of their parents' residence to become citizens by birth. Many countries in the Americas have done this without conditions for years. And so that's a 5th way to get it very quickly, in that you're born, you're a citizen. Obviously, some of us here encourage people not to go and do that in the US, not to go and do that in Western countries like Canada, where the potential tax burden is high. But you've got countries like Brazil, Mexico, Panama that offer that. And so that's pretty quick, albeit not for you. It could be a path in some countries like Brazil to a relatively quick citizenship for you as the parent if you're willing to live there. Obviously very quick for the child. So there are some different ways where you or your children can get citizenship pretty quickly. The idea that you're going to land in any particular country and just be handed a passport doesn't work that way. 6 months, 12 months are extremely quick, but if you approach things from the right perspective, if you look at all of your options, you will find the best passports to get you set up, whether it's one now, maybe you get another one a couple years from now. There's different approaches to build your passport portfolio, but that's where I would start if your goal is speed. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.